Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a day in my life as a consultant living in Toronto.
Oh shit!
My day usually starts with me staying in bed till the very last minute and scrambling to get out of the house. I managed to catch the train just in time to head into downtown Toronto, where I'll be taking you along with me on my day in the office. Once I get downtown, it's a quick 10-minute walk to my office, and I quite enjoy it actually. I feel like some corporate badass walking through the streets of downtown, and it's nice to get some steps in the morning as well. The first thing that I do when I get into the office is take in this view from the top of the building and thank the corporate gods for keeping me employed. I set up my desk really quickly and head over to the kitchen for the first of many cups of coffee of the day. Here's me showing off my immaculate coffee brewing skills. This time I managed to make coffee without spilling it all over the place. If you watched my last video, you'll totally get that reference. Now, once I'm fueled up with coffee and finish my morning routine at the office, I sit down and do some routine work like checking my emails and calendar for the day. Alright, so I have some time in the morning before I get started, and this morning's a little bit busy for me. A lot of back-to-back meetings, just because we're closing out one of our projects. But in the meantime, I thought I'd just sit down, talk to you a little bit more about what my job actually is and what I do on a day-to-day basis. So I currently work as an associate consultant for a major TMT company in Canada, and TMT stands for Technology, Media and Telecom. It's an industry term or a group for a specific company. And what I do specifically is internal consulting on our corporate strategy team. This role is very different from traditional consulting because consulting, when people talk about consulting, they usually refer to service firm consulting, where you work with different clients on different engagements. Whereas what I'm working on is internal strategy and corporate strategy. So I work for one company, but I work on a lot of overarching initiatives within that company and help drive it forward. I know that a lot of this can sound very vague and high level, and that's just the nature of consulting as a whole. Long story short, our team helps our business units and our overall company be more efficient. And efficiency can look like a variety of different things, but typically efficiency is saving costs, and these costs are driven by transformative cost saving. And transformative cost saving is essentially not just putting a band-aid and just getting rid of costs, but it's really implementing tools and processes that lead to cost reduction. So the project I've been on for the last, let's say, about 5 months. And typically the way this team works is that the projects are a bit longer and we get to see them end to end. So we get to ideate them, we get to come up with the solutions and design and then see them through implementation and track them after. Which is very unique because you get to have a lot of ownership and get to see your projects come to life, which could differ a little bit from traditional consulting where you enter a corporation or work with a company, advise them and leave. But corporate strategy consulting, you get to really drive a huge company forward, and it's kind of like steering a ship. In terms of day-to-day, there's a lot of meetings that happen, and that's just the nature of consulting in general. A lot of meetings with the different clients we're working with. So in this instance, a client would be the business unit that I'm working with. And what we're doing here is making sure that they're on track with their progress and that they understand what needs to be done, and we're helping them guide them to save costs or be more efficient, whatever the project might entail. Every day we have a stand-up meeting, which is with my immediate working team, which I'm going to have in a little bit actually, where we go over the day's priorities and understand what we need to do, whose support we need to get that done. And then throughout the day, we'll have a couple of meetings with the specific business units I'm working on to align with them and more progress updates and working on what to expect for the next little while. In between all these meetings, there is a lot of downtime for me to get work done. And the one thing that I think anyone can relate to within consulting is the amount of slide decks that you have to build or PowerPoint presentations. And I really can't over communicate how much time I spent building slide decks and the importance of doing so. Slide decks are crucial, and being able to build them is very important because you need to be able to consolidate a lot of details and information into a very concise package that you eventually present to C-suite executives or to the CEO. And when a CEO or a C-suite executive sees something, they really want to understand the high-level picture. And these slide decks have to be to the point, they have to be very detailed, they have to have everything covered, but at the same time not be too detailed or be too vague. So it's really an art putting together these slide decks. In addition to that, I spend a lot of time creating Excel models to track our KPIs, to track our progress on projects, a lot of financial reporting. So it really depends on the project I'm working on and what the requirements are. So when it comes to workload, I think it really depends on where you are in the stage of the project. So for example, from my experience, I've seen that during the inception stage and during the middle is a lot of the hard work, because that's when you're actually designing things, you're actually building models and decks. But towards the end, it tends to die down a little bit because you have everything in place, you have all the hard work done, but now it's just a matter of ensuring that the governance is in place and that the systems are in place to make sure that the project actually gets implemented. So that's kind of the phase I'm at right now. So the project I'm working on is slowly starting to close out, and a lot of the time now spent is just making sure the loose ends are tied, and working on delivering our final output to our working teams and helping them, take it to the next level and continue moving their business forward. So as I mentioned, I do have a couple meetings set up in the morning. I'm going to go get to those, and I will check in with you guys later.
During the daily stand-up meeting, we usually go through the day's priorities and talk about any major roadblocks that we may be facing in the project. After the meeting, I'm pretty clear on what my priorities are for the day, and I head back to my desk and get to work. I end up chatting with my coworkers for a bit, as well as getting their opinion on some items I was working on, and in general, just learning from one another.
So when I write 0.2 to 0.4 on the top, is that what you normally do, or we just put it as...
Now, before I know it, it's my favorite part of the day, lunch. Today, we went on a team lunch to a local Middle Eastern restaurant, which was a nice change. It's definitely not something that we do on a regular. It was just a special occasion. Once I'm back, I refill my cup of coffee and get back to some more work. After a couple of meetings, I actually get some time to call one of my friends who also works at the same company as me in a completely different department and catch up. After hopping off the call with my friend, I finish up a couple of more things I have for the day and close out the tasks that we identified during the morning's meeting. After work, I met up with one of my friends at a local Starbucks. Here's me awkwardly filming myself looking casual while drinking a cup of water. After that, I end up taking the train back home and heading over to a family friend's place for a little barbecue and campfire to end off the night. And there you have it. That's a day in my life as a consultant working in Toronto. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.